Welcome to the Joanne Avison podcast. This episode is in the series that I've called The Law of Three. And the Law of Three means all sorts of different things in all sorts of different situations. And we explored that in the last episode with the lovely admonishment TTT that things take time. Thank you so much, Piet Hein, for your exquisite poetry. In this episode, I'm going to take the Law of Three into a slightly different story. So picture me at Dundee University, which is John Sharkey's alma mater, where he worked and studied and became a clinical anatomist many, many, many years ago, many decades ago, and has worked ever since with a dedication to fascia, perhaps in spite of his original training. But now, because of it, we all benefit from that exquisite research. John invited Jaap van der Wal and Jean-Claude Gamberteau and Neil Thies and others to Dundee. We'll talk about those later. What we are interested in today is Jaap van der Wal standing in front of the room, uttering the inimitable three words that I will never forget as long as I live. And they were this: your body is made up of three things: cells, tissues, and the in-between. I'm going to say that again because it's quite big, huge. Your body is essentially made up of three things: cells, tissues, and the in-between. What does that even mean? Well, first of all, it's true. The law of three presides here in that form. You are made up of tissues, cells, and all that's in between. Those cells are round. Those tissues are tubular in all cases. And the in-between surrounds and is surrounded by those round tubular things. So the law of three when it comes to the human body is the cells, the tissues, and the in-between. How do they relate? How are they distinguished from each other? How do they organize together? How do they communicate? How do they function? How do they support? How do they shape themselves? And why do I say, how do they shape themselves and not how are they shaped? As if something other than us does that. So there, deep in the organization of how we self-organize, comes the recognition of the embryo, because Jaap van der Wal always invites us to ask the embryo. Now, obviously, Jaap van der Wal isn't the only anatomist out there or the only embryologist, but he dared in 1985 to do something publicly that wasn't well received. It wasn't published at the time. It wasn't published until Robert Schleip created the first International Fascia Research Congress with Dr. Tom Findlay and Dr. Peter Hoying. And I believe it was Peter that invited Jaap to present his paper when the second International Fascia Research Congress came about in 2009. Why should you care? Well, it's great big huge. And it was a precursor that had already been threaded into the history books of all that we understand about fascia now. And a lot of things have been extrapolated from it, hanging on to the old story, the old outdated story. Sorry guys, but it's out of date. That the human body is made up of separate parts, that the fascia can be discarded, because it has been for centuries, as the tissue that we cut through to get to the things that matter. Unfortunately, when that happens, post-mortem after someone's died working on a dead body, it relies very heavily on three things. Number one, the type of preservation, because the fascia is presented completely differently in soft fixed presentation versus hard fixed presentation versus fresh frozen presentation. They're very, very different presentations of the body. And secondly, they don't necessarily reflect, or they can't reflect, the living body. Oh my goodness. It's great big huge, like beyond great big huge. It's like paradigm shift. And I know we're kind of tired of hearing paradigm shift, but this is a paradigm shift. And the reason it's a paradigm shift is because we studied the human body as if it was made of parts. And by identifying the parts, we could work out how they work together. Note, and don't forget this, as if it is a machine. And we call it biomechanical function, meaning movement. There's nothing mechanical in the human body. There are no two human bodies that ever occupy the same space and time at the same time, in the same space, in the same way. Ever. Every single one of us is unique, which paradoxically makes us all the same. Go figure. And we're made up of cells, tissues, and the in-betweens. Not bricks, not cement, not architecture that stands tall on the ground at right angles to it and gets stacked upon itself. No, 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 no. There's nothing stacked about you. You and I do not walk around with a spine and a head carried along like a passenger on the pelvis and feet. Quote Serge Grakovetsky, International Fascia Research Congress number 1 in 2007. Every single one of us is, law of three, a round thing made up of cells, tissues, and the in-between. Well, before you shrug, obviously, anyone out there who studied biomechanics and anatomy the way we've been taught it for the last 400 years is in deep, deep trouble trying to translate that into movement. I've just had the incredible privilege of spending 5 days in a classroom from 9 till 5 with Paul Thornley. And the two of us have been teaching myofascial magic in action, because that's what we do, that's what we're in love with. And that's what makes such a difference to our clients and the people that we teach and the people that they work with. And teaching about micro movement from a point of view that the human body is made up of cells, tissues, and the in-between. So I hear you thinking, well, what difference does that make? It is so great, I can't even begin to explain it. However, trust me, every cell in your body activates three things. Think of an atom. We have the nucleus and we have the electrons, and we all talk about those. But the nucleus is made up of protons and neutrons. So we're not just a positive and a negative. We're also an in-between. We have electrons spinning around a nucleus made of protons and neutrons. And yes, I know hydrogen's the exception, but we're not going down that road at the moment. Right now, we are looking at the law of three, and we're having fun with it. And I want you to stay with the idea that your body's made up of cells, tissues, and the in-between. And what that means is that you're a round thing, tubular networks, that form the tissues in tubes, pockets, and pouches, surrounding and surrounded by a fluid matrix within them, around them. And that is a liquid crystal interface that communicates, and they are all communicating at a level that we're much more able to imagine than our forefathers who thought we were mechanical. Why are we more able to imagine it? Because we have touch screens. Having been teaching with Paul in Holland, we came home and I was traveling on the train and I was traveling on the aeroplane, and everywhere I looked, every single person, with very few exceptions, was either looking up at a screen in order to find out what flight they were on or what the timetable was, or they were touching a screen and interfacing with it almost without exception, because they had to have something to get their tickets through, to get on the plane, with a liquid crystal matrix, the screen. That screen communicates faster and in more refined detail of sound and light than you or I could imagine. What happens is the liquid crystal matrix of a screen somewhere translates sound and light into messages that got all those hundreds of passengers on that plane or all those hundreds of passengers on the right train. And the level to which we're relying on that interface is phenomenal. It's something our forefathers could not have imagined when they called human motion biomechanics. I've said it 100 times. I'm going to say it again. Come with me. There are no levers in nonlinear biologic forms. You are a nonlinear biologic form made of tissues, cells, and the in-between. That's it. How you animate that, how your spirit, how your ego, how your mind, how your personality, how your personae, how your archetypes animate that tissue is completely unique to you. And it's unique not only physically, but metaphysically. And the interface of those metaphysics and physics, i.e., your ideas and your imagination with what you put into physical action, that interface, law of three, metaphysics, physics, and the actual interface, three things, is unique at all times. You are already as amazing, as exquisite, as detailed, as difficult to understand, as crazy and brilliant as the liquid crystal screen on your tablet, phone, or computer. You are that brilliant. You might not know that. You might still be caught in doing as you're told by some biomechanical principle that makes absolutely no sense to the human body, because it doesn't move like that. It just doesn't. And it's almost as if our physical movement practices have still got their feet rooted in the dark ages of anatomy, while we were self-organizing, self-animating, and self-aware as we grow into this new age of awareness. I'm not being new agey, I think that's long gone. I'm talking about our ability to intuit and our ability to be instinctive and our ability to be intellectual, but weaving all three. Back to the law of three. So there you have some ingredients of future episodes. I'm going to talk about this law of three in terms of past, present, and future, in terms of intellect, instinct, and intuition, in terms of literal, symbolic, and archetypal. And I'm going to talk of it in terms of stereotype, prototype, and archetype. And we're going to have some real fun together playing with the law of three. But let me be clear about one thing. When it comes to the human body, when you learn biomechanics, you learn about 3 classes of lever. Please don't forget, whatever you've been taught, whatever you've been told, I promise you, my father was taught it was totally impossible for a video to happen instantly across miles. He was told that. So when he was in his 70s and he would walk into my living room when I was on a Zoom call, he would just stand and watch in awe because he couldn't believe it was possible. So one of the things we have to do is wake up and remember there are no levers in nonlinear biologic forms. There is nothing biomechanical about us. Our minds can behave a bit mechanically, like been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and I'm not doing that again. And of course, it's never that again, because it's a new time and a new place, and it's a new opportunity. We'll get to that too. However, just because we've been thinking it's that way for hundreds and hundreds of years, and just because we were told that way hundreds of years ago, that was before anyone was brave enough to publish a paper that took away the things and left what was around them, and demonstrated that the in-between held the keys to the round things, the cells, and the connected tissue was always connected all the way through, and created the surroundings of the in-between. Cells, tissues, in-between. Start there, and I promise you, the movement you teach and the movements that you do can animate a feeling of being really at home in yourself, because you self-organized. It's a really beautiful way of holding a whole Trinity. For me, a holy Trinity that includes everything. Always law of three. Have fun, stay close, and keep those comments rolling. I really appreciate them. Love to you all. God bless.